Hi, I'm Tim Tyler, and today I'll be discussing the possible ways of constructing angels. In previous writings about the engineered future, I've expressed the view that future organisms will be the product of intelligent design. This essay builds on that premise, and if you doubt it, then you should review that material first of all. An engineered future probably means that the dominant organisms in the future will resemble us about as much as we resemble velvet worms, or indeed perhaps much less so. Here we will refer to those future dominant organisms as angels. This terminology originates in the Great Chain of Being diagrams, which often illustrate beings above humans but below God. These entities often have halos to symbolize their highly moral natures, harps to symbolize a life of luxury, and wings symbolizing their near-magical powers. Other authors have used this terminology before me, for example Mark Ridley. One of the most important roles of today's humans is to construct angels, or at least take a step down the road that leads to them. We should be laying down angelic foundations. However, there seems to be some disagreement about what an angel looks like or how to go about building one. There are a few things that we can say about the majority of angels at this stage. They'll have digital brains. They'll exhibit the hardware-software divide found in today's computer systems. That means that their software will be easily upgradable and their brains will be capable of being backed up. They will also be highly modular, making upgrades and component repair in a hospital environment easier. Much of the disagreement on how to build angels revolves around the issue of what foundation to build upon. Some are happy for angels to be our mind children, descendants of our memes, but not necessarily of our genes. However, many people seem to think that our role should not merely be creators of the angels. They want to be ancestors of the angels. They want themselves, or their offspring, to turn into angels. They want to become angels, or else they want an unbroken path of germline descent to lead between themselves and the angels. That seems likely to cause some problems to me. Humans are more like slugs than they are like angels. To gradually transform a human into an angel seems like a tall order to me. For one thing, the human genome is an unmaintainable mess. No sensible engineer would have anything to do with its upkeep. It's much the same with the human brain, another unmaintainable mess. The brain is not even fully digital. The thing is a complete joke from an engineering perspective. Rather than representing a head start on angel construction, it seems to me that the human form is best seen as part of the hangover from which civilization needs to recover. What do the proponents of engineering projects based on human foundations have to say for themselves? One such proponent is Gregory Stock. Here is some video footage of him.
We are now becoming the objects of conscious design. And the implications of that are just enormous, because until now, we've been reshaping the world around us. And we can see how dramatically it's been changing. I mean, we've really reshaped the landscape, and we've built a society and altered society and changed everything that's external to us. But somehow we imagined that we were going to remain the same, that we ourselves were not going to be caught up in this process. And that's not, in fact, true. We are going to remake ourselves. And it's very difficult to deal with, because it will rip free all of the anchors that have until now told us who we are as human beings.
In a chapter of Redesigning Humans entitled Our Commitment to Our Flesh, Gregory lays out the case for embarking on an engineering project based on human foundations. He says, "Predictions of the imminent fusion of human and machine ignore the degree to which we are biological in nature and want to remain that way. Expanding our senses, enhancing our physical powers, or enlarging our minds is seductive, but until our flesh loses its vitality or becomes diseased or damaged, few of us want to replace it." He also says, "Regardless of the ultimate outcome of the race between biological and computer evolution, however, unless the extremely rapid machine transcendence predicted by Moravec and Kurzweil plays out, our immediate future, involving us, our children, and our children's children, will be governed by medicine and biology." Stock then goes on about adding extra features in on chromosomes for the rest of the book, without revisiting the possibility of rapid machine transcendence. Another enthusiast for engineering projects based on human foundations is Aubrey de Grey. Here's some video footage of him.
Ultimately, aging kills 100,000 people every single day worldwide. That's 2/3 of all deaths are from causes that young adults basically never die of. In the developed world, it's something in the region of 90% of all deaths. And of course, most of those deaths are preceded by a great deal of suffering and dependence and debilitation and so on. So this is something that we have to actually ask ourselves. If you've got an argument that says, well, it will cause problems if we didn't have aging, then fine. But if you're trying to use that argument to say, therefore, let's not go there, then you'd better be able to argue problems are so serious as to outweigh the deaths of all these people, or else, don't waste my time.
Aubrey seems to think that we should build on modern humans, and claims that if his proposed human engineering project works, it will save 100,000 lives a day. I'm not terribly impressed by this argument. In my view, the best way to deal with the loss of desirable data at death is to ensure that minds can be copied and backed up. Aubrey's proposal simply doesn't even attempt to do this. If it works, his plan would reduce the occurrence of undesirable data loss due to death, but it would not come close to eliminating it, since people will still die of accidents, and then their minds would be lost forever. Aubrey's proposal seems to me a stopgap solution fails to address the root of the problem, which is that people's minds can't currently be backed up. We could fix this problem properly by ensuring that people have digital minds. That looks like an even easier solution than his to me, since it doesn't involve radical surgery on a complex evolved system. Anyway, if we are engineering humans, dealing with senescence hardly seems like a top priority to me. There are all manner of other problems which we have a better chance of fixing, including AIDS and malaria. If we want to help humans persist for longer in the face of economic competition with machines, then we should probably focus on features that would increase their employability in the future. Another proponent is Max Moore. Here is some video footage of him.
My worry is that if artificial intelligence is allowed to develop entirely separately from us, and if it develops a lot more quickly than we can alter our biological bodies, then it may become vastly more intelligent, more wise than us, and we'll get left behind. And personally, I don't want to be left behind. I'd rather be up there with the most advanced creatures. Posthuman, I think, will be post-biological. By that I mean that it'll be a gradual process. There won't be any sudden transition to a different form. I think we'll gradually integrate more and more technology into our bodies. We'll be replacing our organs with more efficient organs. We'll gradually replace this neural tissue because it dies off after a while. It's easily subjected to chemical damage. So eventually I think we'll replace our brain cells with essentially computerized parts. It'll be much more efficient, much more powerful.
Max appears to be concerned that development not based on the human form will result in him personally being left behind. The main thing that I think the proponents are missing is that the likely timescale for the arrival of intelligent machines is now quite short. To do human germline genetic engineering would take multiple generations of testing and tweaking before much positive change could be effected. Somatic gene therapy can fix some things, but it is relatively weak medicine and has other issues associated with safety and implementation difficulties. Also, there is the business of the yuck factor with which human engineering projects are widely regarded. Much the same problem affects the cyborg-based proposals popular with Rodney Brooks and others. However, I have criticised the proposed cyborg path elsewhere in more detail. I don't think that projects that build on humans will have enough time to get very far before humans are completely surpassed by other entities built upon engineering principles. Rather, I think that other projects with different foundations will overtake and eclipse human-based development plans. One of the first things to be surpassed will be the human brain, and once that is no longer on the leading edge, I think that it will rapidly become quite clear that the developmental action has shifted to another locus. It seems to me that the plans to build on human foundations are founded on idealism. The proponents want to help save the human race. For them, a future dominated by intelligent machines is a future where human beings are driven to extinction, obviously regarded as something to be avoided at all costs. I don't mind idealism, but I think it has to be combined with a little realism. The idea that engineering angels from a human foundation is a viable project does not strike me as being a realistic one. Other people will have different ideas, and their projects will ultimately be more successful. Also, I think that this particular kind of idealism is misguided. It seems to me that these people want to cripple the angels by creating them with a terrible hangover, whereas I am not convinced that that is a good idea. I'm more positively inclined towards a strategy of building the best angels that we know how to build. From that perspective, the idea that one must start with a human being is simply a ridiculous and unnecessary constraint. To me, crippling your project by starting with a human being seems like a certain way to ensure that it ends miserably. Enjoy.